Tim Murtaugh joining us now, one of the spokesperson, senior communications director, spokesperson for Trump-Pence 2020. Hey, Tim, thanks for being with us early. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm two little kids. I'm always up at this time. So.
Tim, look, we've got a lot to do here in 10 minutes, but let me just start with this. You've got parents of elementary school kids buying bulletproof backpacks, all right? Not good, right? I mean, this is reality. There's a firm that sells these, Tim. They're up. Their sales are up 300% in 2 weeks. I mean, you've got two little kids. Do you want to have to go out and buy them bulletproof backpacks in the fourth grade? I don't think so, right? So there's a problem in this country. The president has proposed reasonable restrictions on selling guns to whack jobs. Why doesn't this make sense?
Well, I don't know who could possibly be against that because it really, truly is a common sense approach. We know, and then now once again, news coming out about the shooters in these two instances, and they are very, very disturbed individuals. The Tate shooter, who we know had leftist ideology, also told his girlfriend that had hallucinations, he heard dark voices telling him all sorts of things. He was obsessed with mass shootings. He was obsessed with violence. One of the proposals, two of them actually, one of them is addressing mental health issues to make sure that people like this are identified and flagged. The red flag laws would help ensure that people like this don't have access to firearms, legally anyway. And additionally, the president wants to work with social media companies because these people do exhibit these kinds of behaviors online. They do give off clues. I heard you before the break talking about the rape list. When he was in high school, it was common knowledge. You know, at one point, a third of his people didn't come to school one day because they were afraid.
Tim, so you were talking. He had published this rape list, and he had all kinds of other crazy things. And the president says, look, we've got to find a way to work with social media, right?
Yeah, social media, there are going to be many, many occasions where people like this exhibit dangerous behavior, exhibit warning signs on social media. It happened again in this case. And the friends of folks like this, they know that the person is a danger. I don't know if you heard this part, but when he was in high school, you mentioned the rape list that he had, and he wrote on the bathroom wall a hit list as well. At one time, a third of his high school didn't come to school because they were afraid he was going to do something that day. This is a guy who people knew was a potential problem, and it never comes up. These things. The president talks about addressing mental health laws and the gaps that are in there, the red flag laws, which I know you were talking about on the break, which is a common sense approach, and also working with the social media companies to be able to identify and at least have law enforcement go talk to the guy and say, you know, what are these things that you're saying? And it really could help prevent a lot of these things. They're common sense approaches from the president, much needed.
Well, we have to do something because, look, I've got all my friends that are Second Amendment advocates, like I am, like you are. All of us own guns. You own a gun. I own a gun. Many guns, and so it doesn't mean we're watering anything down, but you just have to deal with reality. When you've got mothers in suburbs buying bulletproof backpacks for fifth graders, you got a problem, man. And the president understands this, and we're going to have to do something that makes sense. He has a very common sense approach. Because the alternative is the Democrats keep winning elections, and then you're going to see what's going to happen. So you have to do something, and I think the president is spot on with this. All right, I want to get to Tim Murtaugh, spokesperson, Trump campaign 2020. Tim, I want to get to this tweet that Joaquin Castro, congressman, sent out yesterday, doxing, D-O-X-X-I-N-G, that means making public the names and addresses of donors to Trump in San Antonio. For what purpose, Tim? What purpose did he do that?
What other purpose could there be but to encourage, at the very best, harassment of these private citizens, and at worst, to invite violence against them? There can be no other purpose. Here is a sitting member of Congress who also, of course, is the twin brother of Julian Castro, who's running for president. Joaquin Castro serves as the chairman of his brother's presidential campaign, so there can be no separation between the member of Congress and the presidential campaign. That's what this is, and it was from his political account. listing 44 Trump donors and their places of employment and saying, these are the people who are funding the Trump campaign. It's essentially a target list. There can be no other explanation for why you would publish such a thing. So we publicized it yesterday. It tore around the internet. It went crazy. All the networks are covering it, the Post, the New York Times, everybody is all over it. And incredibly, Castro's defending it, saying, yeah, you're right, I wanted to draw attention to these people. And he hides behind the fact that it's publicly available information if you go and search through the FEC website, because I know a lot of normal Americans love to just go poke through the FEC reports to see who's donating what. That's ridiculous. But he put them all in one place, names and where they work. Incredibly, these are his constituents. He represents San Antonio in Congress. These are San Antonio private citizens, business owners, many of them, who own businesses, employ people in the San Antonio area, and he's attacking them, all to help his doomed campaign of the presidential campaign of his brother, who has no chance, and everyone knows that. So it's just amazing. And the Democrats want to talk about how the president uses one word in some online ads, and somehow that links him with these madmen who shoot people. And they say that the president is inciting violence by the use of one particular word. That's ridiculous. But this guy publishes a target list of American citizens, private citizens, and says, you're damn right, I did this, and he's proud of it. Unbelievable.
Tim, it is unbelievable. And the way you framed this, Tim Murtaugh, was spot on. Harassment at best. You don't know what's the worst, and you don't even want to say it, but it's harassment at best. Now, let me just ask you something else. The other thing is, part of this is an intimidation campaign, not to donate for Trump, not to wear his hat, not to put a sign out, not to volunteer for the campaign, not to put a sticker on his car. These are pure intimidation tactics that the left is using in order to intimidate Trump supporters. How far do you think that'll go?
Well, it goes pretty far, and it's all about controlling the language, too, and people's behavior. This is why, and we know this was the case in 2016, and we know that it's the case today, is why we know that the president underpolls in these public polls, because the Democrats and the media have succeeded so much in intimidating people into being afraid to express their support for President Trump by any means, that they when a pollster calls them and says, who are you supporting for president, they're actually afraid to say Donald Trump. It's incredible. And now they've got people being publicized and targeted by a member of Congress and the chairman of the presidential campaign for having the guts to donate to President Trump. And that is astounding. It goes on to other areas, too. It's not just Joaquin Castro. We're also talking about when the president talks about the squad. You're not allowed to do that because they happen to be women of color. And so if you are criticizing someone, certain people are off limits. You can't criticize someone who might be female or might be non-white. Additionally, you're not allowed to talk about illegal immigration anymore. If you do, you're racist. Democrats know that their position on illegal immigration, which is to throw open the borders and let anyone in who wants to come in, they know that is an untenable position. They hold that position, and they are not electable. So what they have to do is make being opposed to illegal immigration racist. And they have to make it impossible for anyone to even discuss out loud. And that's what they do. They're trying to control the language, control people's behavior, intimidate them into silence, and intimidate them into not participating in the electoral process. They know their ideas are bad. They know they can't get elected running on their ideas, so they have to intimidate their political opponents and Trump supporters into doing nothing.
WJ.
Well, they have nothing else. Tim Murtaugh, thanks for being up early and getting with us today. We appreciate it, spokesperson. Hey, by the way, Tim, I had dinner with your boss in El Paso just a week ago. Your former boss, I'm sorry, in El Paso a week ago. We had dinner together. It was one of my favorite people, former Congressman Lou Barletta. Tim, I got to roll. John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America. We'll be right back. Stay with us.